My name is BB Sasore. I am, I guess, media practitioner. It's probably the best way to work a bit in advertising. I'm a creative director for a niche marketing agency called Nemsha. I guess I'm trying to be a filmmaker. I think that title gets reserved for people who've done quite a bit in film. I've done a couple of short films, and we just recently put out a TV show called Before 30. I think creativity. I'd like to believe creativity. I think that's what we thrive on, believing that we can engage consumers in all forms of storytelling, whether it be from individuals or from brands or products. Everything has a story, you know, and if that story doesn't make people feel, care, it doesn't engage them, then it's not going to bring back the reward that it was set out to do. And that's I think what we think our forte is sort of engaging regular people in whatever demographic somehow. Do we consistently? I don't know. I guess I don't know. I think I'd like to say creativity, but I think it's a bit wishful to say that we even do it creatively and consistently. I don't know, how does Davido constantly make hits? But I think the thing that we do is we never compromise on passion, on creativity, and on expertise, or quality. I think you know when something is good, and if it doesn't reach that standard, you don't stop until it does. You know when something makes you feel, and we have a sort of pretty wide demographic in-house. My partner and I are very different people, and we sort of span a pretty good demographic ourselves. So if it doesn't appeal to us, then we feel like it's likely not going to appeal to people, and we sort of don't compromise on those things. And even quality, that's one of the things it's sort of one of the easy ways to set yourself apart from the herd. And so I think there's something in our industry, media, all forms of media, that's sort of hungry for that different product, and we don't compromise on that. We could invest everything we have into something and it doesn't come out the way we think it is. You'll never know, because we won't put it out. The biggest challenge and end up also being sort of the biggest incentive and the biggest reason for coming back. It's really weird, but the biggest challenge in general I think entrepreneurs face in the country is infrastructure, and quickly discovering how underdeveloped all the things you need to make your product are. But it's also what's exciting about Africa as a whole, is that it's basically in its infancy. And so you find that you want to conga, and you want to do online sales, but then you also have to create FedEx as well to make, you know, the distribution chain. And you also have to have your own way of collecting the finances online, and you have to, you know, so everything you start requires, you know, you to go through the entire value chain and create the whole industry, which is very frustrating many times. So you want to make a film, you want to make a TV show, you don't like the way it's being distributed, you gotta step into that. You don't like the way they're doing something else in the pre-production side of it, or the scouting, or the casting is not there, so you gotta make a talent agency, or you know, so you almost have to make the entire value chain of whatever it is the product you're gonna make is. But it's also very exciting to an entrepreneur, because you can sort of own that entire value chain, and that's not the case elsewhere. So it's those same challenges that I find that end up being the exciting part of starting something amazing in this side of the world. Yeah. Absolutely you do. And I find that the synergies or the alliances, partnerships that are most important are really with the big channels and so on. It's actually the little things. Africa is, just burgeoning with all kinds of small businesses. So everybody's everything, and that's one of the issues we have is it's hard to get people to find themselves the expertise and sort of specialize in stuff. But we do make all these little partnerships every day that make, the entire sequence of everything we want to do sort of run. Even just in production of the TV show. The obvious partnerships are with the stations and the sponsors, but you sort of go into partnerships with all the little vendors. From the production side of things, which I handled, AK1, who was our DOP, shot it, but that's a partnership with AK1 Productions. We had Cardozo Imagery helping shoot it, that's a partnership with them. You have stylists, that's a partnership with them. You have makeup people, and all these people are not just vendors that you hire, there are partnerships that you keep working with, that you give something to get something from. And so those little partnerships, the person who did the catering, the company that did us a favor, and you have to structure those to be able to do things at the quality you want to do them and with the limited resources that you have. And so, yes. Sponsors, big one. Stations, big one. But we find that the little partnerships, even the design firms that we partnered with, because even though we're an ad agency, one of the things that we wanted to do with one of the looks of the pictures we didn't have the expertise for, so called on those people and like that and on and on. 4:30, Nemsha's Darling. It is a TV show about 4 women who are dating and living in a modern Africa. It's kind of the story of the modern African woman who has these weird cultural conservative pressures on them to get married before 30. Thus the title of the show, Before 30. It's for good reasons very much like Sex and the City. People hate when we make that reference, but it just is true. It's something that we sort of looked to model after because it was so successful and it was really intelligently done. So certain things were stolen from there. 4 girls seems to work really well. One is wild, one is conservative. The lead character is a voiceover telling the whole story, things like that. But it's very authentic and very true to what they go through in this side of the world, dating guys like you. So. Yeah, it's interesting. It's been great. I think for us, Before 30 was meant to be a bit of a stepping stone. When we went into it, it was basically a calculated risk. We thought to ourselves, we want to get into television, and how do we engage people, which I said was at the heart of NEMSHA. Engaging consumers. And women watch by far more television than men. Men watch news and sports. So we knew our demographic was women. And what story do you want to tell Nigerian women that's going to make them care and watch? And there's a reason why romantic comedies and all that stuff are always the highest billed and highest selling with women. And so we want to do something in that vein, but do something that immediately told their story for the Nigerian woman today. And so that seemed like the obvious choice. And feedback has been pretty high. It's been on 9, maybe 10 stations now, which is a bit unprecedented. We didn't have to pay for any airtime. All of them wanted it on their stations. We've got a lot of requests now for international acquisitions, a few stations in French-speaking territories and other English-speaking territories in the Western world. Haven't gotten into Asia yet, but we're working on that. And people that we wanted to be able to go and sort of knock on their door and say, please, hey, we're in NEMSHA, look at us, we've got this small project, you find they're calling you. And so I think the reception has been pretty great. Pretty great. Honestly, not Not too much. I'm very, very gut driven. What works really well for Nemsha is that my partner Darren is fully data driven. He's really gut driven. So we clash a lot, but we find a very great balance. We end up, for the most part, making the best decision for Nemsha because somewhere in there, he would have done the research, he would have found the data, he would have studied up on whatever it is, whatever product we're trying to make, whatever story we're trying to tell. And I'm basically trying to take it from a place of what I feel is going to infect and touch most people. And typically, if you have a merger of those two things, something pretty great is going to come out. But for the most part, I'm really driven by data and research and information, which is not good. The biggest thing I've learned from Darren is that no matter how great at your craft you are, no matter who you are, no matter how many times you've done it before, there's someone out there who's probably doing it better than you, and it's probably documented, and you want to learn from those people. Learning is just as fundamental as creating. It helps creation, and so it's something I hope to get better at. I think I've touched on them before. I think the things that drive Nemsha, the things we never compromise on are creativity, quality, and passion. Creativity being, I think we're a pretty creative bunch, and we constantly are looking for who's just that next great creative kid in whatever they do that relates to our industry. Could be animation, could be design, could be writing, could be directing, could be music, whatever it is. We're constantly searching for that. And again, once it just doesn't touch us, no matter how far along into the project we are, we just don't put it out. We know that everything that comes from Nemsha needs to be at a certain level of creativity. And that translates to quality, and it's with those same people, that same expertise. And then finally, passion. We are passionate about telling stories, and we're passionate about impacting, putting a large footprint on the media space in Africa. We just think the culture is so rich, the stories are so, great, and they need to be told, and there's really no compromising on that for us. And we find out when we let our stories come from the heart, from a place of passion, and we don't compromise on the creativity or the quality of it, I think we will be able to keep the promise to the consumers that we're trying to engage. It's been terrible, frankly. Really great, but terrible. We're not managers at all. Neither Darren or I or anybody right now that's in Nemsha is a good manager. It's one of the things that Nemsha needs fundamentally. I think it's a great place to work because we're extremely liberal. People sort of make their own schedules, just get your work done. We try to just create a community, an environment, and put in some infrastructure that allows people who are creative to thrive. But we also give them very little to no structure, which is the most inefficient way you can run a business. It's already an inefficient business because it's about creativity, which means until you feel like you have something good, you're going to keep pouring in resources and spending money and all that stuff. And then you have no rules or no box or no scope around it. It just makes it terrible from an efficiency standpoint. And neither Darren nor I have any sense of managing a business. So we know that needs to improve, and we're working on finding the person or the people who will come in and sort of put that structure around it. I'm not excited about it either, but to get to the heights that we want to get to, we know that's a necessity. So to answer your question, I don't know what it's like to properly manage a creative company, but working at Nemsha has been fun. And that's the easiest way to explain it. I don't think anybody here, we have down days, but the down days are out of boredom more so than out of stress or any of that stuff. It's been interesting and fun. I think we all sort of love what we do, and especially Darren and I. And until we stop loving it, it's just going to keep going. But it is going to get tighter and more structured and not less creative, however, hopefully. Excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Converse8. Hope to talk again soon.